With me today is Anna Savoya. Anna, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Sailing
Happy
to the
to be here.
folks. And our guest today is Jim Granger, coming at us from New Mexico.
Hello,
Jim, how
everyone.
are you doing?
This is a beautiful day in the neighborhood up here. Yeah, I live in Arroyo Seco, New Mexico, at about 7,800 feet above sea level, surrounded by big blue skies and mountain ranges. And so, yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place to be. And good to be here with you. This is exciting. I've never done anything like this,
I
so
know. Thank you
this
so much, Jim.
should be wild and fun. Hopefully informative.
We've been trying to get Jim on the podcast for a little while, and I'm glad we could coordinate it. So, again, thank you, Jim.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
So let me take this opportunity to introduce our audience to Jim Granger. Jim has remembered his mission in this lifetime to help in the transition of the earth and in the emergence of a new vision of the human being.
Version.
New version of the human being
Oh, yeah.
is called Homo
Homo
luminous.
luminous. Homo luminous.
Homo luminous. He is also the founder of the Body Transcendent process, which he has used personally to heal and to integrate trauma-based mind-controlled programming. He went through that as part of his soul agreement for this lifetime. His present focus is dismantling the false light matrix, which I hope we get to talk about, which is the mind control and domination overlay of the natural universe. Jim has remembered that he is one of the architects of the matrix and is thus well suited in helping to bring it to completion for its purpose here. Jim, that's a lot of responsibility, I must say.
Yeah, but we're big beings, all of us. That's part of my remembering that we're multidimensional, sovereign totalities unto ourselves. So we're the co-creators here, along with everyone and the universal creator and all that. So I'm up to it. I think so far.
Well, if we are creating this universe, I must say, since the beginning of the year, there has been a whole lot of trauma taking place on the earth. You have the coronavirus stuff going on. You have the unveiling of what is commonly referred to as the deep state. You got riots going on all across the United States right now. And is this part of the false light matrix and part of the trauma-based control?
Yeah, it is. So probably what would be helpful, like we were talking, that to set a framework, a context and some terms, because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about, most people have no reference point. And so in order for this to be more experiential and not just concept and not just ideologue or belief systems, I really would like to share with your audience a few things, and then we can address that question, and it will make more sense when they have a frame of reference, which I like to call the context of things. Yeah. So, for instance, one thing that comes out of the Body Transcendent work that I invite your audience to actually participate in is what we call the felt sense. And the felt sense is a combination of body sensations, emotional responses, mental thoughts and beliefs, and your core awareness, the authentic self, the heart soul essence from who we are before we come into any kind of expression form. And the idea is that whatever thoughts or feelings, or you hear something I may be saying, I encourage your audience to sense what's going on in your body. What does that feel like as a sensation if I talk about a false light matrix, or we talk about heart, soul, essence? What do you see if you resonate with that, so that you're not just hearing it from up here and running it through your filters and your ideologies and your belief systems. That's just head stuff. We want this to be connected to the heart, to your gut, to your whole being intelligence. And then that elicits what I call your truth sense. It gives you a sense of, yes, this rings truthfully for me, not just I can say I believe this is true or I say this is false. We don't want to just stay in a polarized context. That's what creates trauma, is high polarization or high duality, high contrast, that's in opposition. Heart Soul Essence is inclusive, it's transformative, it's clarity. It's where you feel a knowingness that says, wow, maybe I don't understand this, but somehow it feels right inside, and it's empowering. So when the truth sense is operational, you feel this. You have a knowingness. You have a sense of wholeness. You have a sense of rightness. It's not polarized at all. It's very unified. It's very integrated. So see if you can experience what we're going to share in that context. At least include your body sensations. Include what you're sensing in your core of your being. And a lot more will make sense than if you try to just figure it out through the head. It just doesn't go there.
So intuition is important?
Yeah, because intuition, though it's more of a mental thing, it's grounded in the heart soul essence. It's that sense of aha, or you get a feeling. The heart feels through what's going on. You sense it. You resonate or you don't. Something in you says yes, or it may say no. I just not on the same page. But it's not a conceptual understanding. That's what we call the booby prize, is understanding. But knowing this from heart, soul, essence, from the authentic self, from the heart of hearts, is how I operate. That's how I've gotten a lot of what I'm saying.
Do you think actually that fear might interfere with that? Fear? Or
Well,
you can still...
yeah. Well, it does, because when you go into fear, you're not coming from your truth. Fear comes out of disconnected mind. It's where you get dissociated from something, or you just have too much of a fixed idea about something, and you're not listening from the truth of your being that can then guide you. This is my guidance system, my truth sense, because the truth always feels right and good. I call that yummy. And when you're in something that has judgment, fear, anger, just ideological perspectives, that oftentimes feels gummy in the body because it's fear-based, or it's anger-based, or it shuts you down, that kind of thing. So, yeah. So what you see around with the COVID and a lot of other things is a lot of fear, because people have been programmed to be up in here, and they're not living from an integrated heart soul essence that can say, hey, they're saying this, that, oh, you gotta, this is very contagious, da, da, da. But then what's your truth tell you? And that's how we guide ourselves through our life experiences, rather than trying to figure it out. So that's one frame of reference. And what I also want to bring in, which is going to be essential, is that the natural universe that our heart soul essence comes from. We come from this sense of awareness and into human form, or other forms of life. What is called the false light matrix, or the synthetic universe, or just the matrix. And these terms, I want to give credit to George Kavassilis, who has been a mentor for me, because this is what he has experienced, and a lot of my life has paralleled what he teaches. So I have a lot of resonance and respect.
Can you
So
spell his last name?
his last name is Kavasilas. It's Kavasilas. He's Australian, actually, but that's a Greek name. His background, his heritage is Greek.
What's the easiest way to find him on?
Yeah, his is look up We Are Infinite .love, Love, is his website. Highly recommend it, because he's onto this more than anybody else I know, from a really authentic, truth-based perspective. So what we call the false light matrix is there is an overlay that was created a long time ago to be a catalyst and a challenge to all souls who are incarnated into this universe to play out this polarity game of opposites, and then use that in a context that creates division and creates mind control, manipulation, dissociation through trauma from your wholeness. It's part of the plan. And the whole idea is that by going through all of that, we are now at the stage of experience in the history of this planet, particularly, and this solar system, that it's transitioning into the synthesis of all of that opposition, into the integration of it, and the transcendence or the transmutation of polarity into an integrated unity. So that's what Homo Luminous means to me, is an embodied, meaning we're embodying the heart soul essence. You're not living out of the body. It's about bringing everything here, embodying that so that the whole universe is accessible from within our own being. And so that's we're calling the natural timeline, or a natural evolutionary pathway. There's two others: transhumanism, which is cyborg, which is using external technology to augment humankind. Elon Musk is a very major player in that. And then there's the ascension timeline, which is also, all those two are part of the matrix as well, from my experience, because I've been in all of those. So I'm looking for the Homo Luminous, which is the natural. So all of the technological, external technologies, we have the ability to generate and do ourselves. And that's what I'm evolving into. And that's what my life has been healing my own mind control trauma of various kinds, so that I can function here as a whole, integrated, embodied, sovereign being, which I'm calling Homo Luminous, which is actually Peruvian. It's not my term. But other people have used things like Homo Spiritus, Homo Universalis. They're sensing that something is being born, unprecedented, through all of this stuff that we've been going through for eons and eons. So that's sort of the context base.
I certainly can feel that there's some sort of transformation, something. And you said go with your gut. So my gut makes me feel like, yes, something is happening here.
Yeah. And it looks like on the surface that, if you notice, there's always some terrorist or terror of the week. Now it's the COVID-19 because it's a worldwide psychological operation, and what we call psyops and
Plus,
mind
they
control.
can get everybody at once too.
Yeah, you can put it under that umbrella, and everybody has to abide by it. But if it wasn't that, then it's North Korea. Before then, it's the Taliban, or it's ISIS, or whatever. Pick your terrorism of the week, something
Climate
that
change.
is climate change. Anything. Now, what does it generate? It generates fear, concern, right? People get afraid. And what folks don't realize is in the context of the false light matrix, because it's not based on fully on the truth, It has some truth in it. It has to, because it's nested within the natural universe. It's born out of that. But it has to have life force to operate. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Everything
does.
has to have some kind of energy to live. So the beings that are part of the false light matrix, and I've been inside that myself, most of us have in different roles, relies on life force to motor it, to fuel it, particularly human life force. And a very simple example, most people here have probably been what we call psychic vampirism, where someone you've talked to and you're feeling really good and they're feeling upset and they start complaining, and by the end you have a headache, you're feeling wiped out, they're feeling great. What did they just do? They just fed on your energy
Right.
because they can't
Right.
generate their own truth. We call that loosh. Loosh is the word that is given for how humans are constantly generating loosh that the feeders use to keep their game going. So that's another part of how to integrate so that you're not food for the feeders, the controllers, the other beings on the other dimensions that live off this stuff. And fear is their food. It's one of their primary delicacies.
So at some point, what you were saying, things are going to come to a head, right? Um, we either move forward or the psychic vampires that run things just what? Keep
Okay.
dominating?
Yeah. No, well, see, this is the thing of you got to go deeper and broader. What I've realized, and this is not a belief, this is how I live. It's a truth that I have proven to myself over and over again for most of my adult life as I've gone through my healing. And that is everything, if you know that you are a sovereign totality unto yourself, I am not the brood of some god. Okay?
Okay.
That's the religious thing. The prime creator of this universe does not require worship and things like that. And we can go into that part at some point. The point is that everything's done by soul agreement. At the soul level, we are total authorities of whatever our experience, our reality is. And we know what we're doing there. You don't know it by the mind. That's part of the forgetting. But at the soul level, you know who you are, you know what your capacities are, and there is no experience that can happen to you without your permission. So there is no victimizers. That's a polarity concept. So everybody at the soul level says, oh, I want to incarnate on this earth and experience this classroom, this curriculum of mind control, and et cetera, et cetera. So if that's the case, then nothing is happening by random chance here. No one has power over anyone else except by agreement to make it look that way. Much like you go to the movies and the characters play out the villains and the characters play out the victims, yeah? But they're just actors choosing.
So when I incarnated onto this plane, I agreed to something.
Everything.
I agreed
Yeah.
to everything.
You
Now,
agreed to everything. Or you couldn't be here.
am I allowed to change it, or is the
Absolutely.
goal
Yeah.
to recognize what you agreed to and then fulfill that agreement?
Yes, right. Right. So if you want to, like, there's another term, there are no victims or victimizers, just volunteers at the soul level. I'm not saying the child and the person, the incarnational construct, your personality. You don't choose to go through trauma. I didn't choose to go through the trauma I went through in the womb and then the mind control torture I went through. I didn't do that on a personal level. I chose that at the soul level because it gave me the experiences I needed to generate who I'm becoming now. It's like anything. If you want to know the taste of the apple, you've got to eat the apple, right? It's got to be an experience. It can't just be a belief. And beliefs are part of our experience, but soul learns by experiencing and by being it. All right, we become that. So we are incredible, multidimensional, self-generating, self-directing, self-validating beings who have taken on the character of a human being that has forgotten and has been traumatized and it doesn't remember who we are, has levels of amnesia, right? To play out what that's like. And then, like you say, at some point, you start evolving, maturing, reaching a stage of your life journey that says, wait, there's something more, something wrong with the matrix here, right? Something else is going on. And then the seeking stage starts. You start inquiring, you start reading, you start asking questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? Is this really all there is? Is that it? Am I always going to be the victim of a bully or of a dominating partner or in the culture I'm in, da 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 da. And the answer is, well, at some point, no, you're not going to abide by that. You are going to wake up to your soul agreement. You are going to remember. And when you remember, then you have the freedom to either continue the pattern or your agreements or you don't. You change them.
Well, I would imagine that if you could remember the agreement, right,
Yes,
that would eliminate a lot of fear too.
totally.
Even if you don't reach those agreements or whatever, it's going to eliminate a whole. You don't have to live in fear because I've done this, I agreed to this, or whatever.
That is how empowerment, total sovereign authority of your own reality, your own life, comes into your hands, to live is when you do remember that I agreed, not just intellectually, not ideologically, but in your body, in the heart soul essence, you remember. And when I do remember, that's when I know I have finished my pattern. That completes the cycle of experience because I start with I'm going to incarnate onto this planet at this time and abide by all of the rules of the game. And I'm going to go through all these experiences that include, trauma of certain kinds and et cetera, et cetera. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to remember that I came in here. I'm going to work through the levels of amnesia and forgetting. And then once I know, it's sort of like this. This is one of my favorite analogies. If you were feeling pain somewhere in your body, George and Anna, and you looked around and you realized you were pinching yourself, what would you do?
You would
Most of
release.
you would just do, oh, I'm pinching myself. The pain is not coming from my partner, my parents, my culture, COVID. No, I'm pinching myself. That's the soul level remembering. And you stop. There's no effort in that. It's not hard because at that level you're back in your totality of being, into your sovereignty, you know? And therefore you're doing the pinching. You don't believe it. It's not anyone convincing you. You know it because you're feeling it and doing it. So that's what happens. When you remember, you just stop because you're done pinching yourself. Now you know. It's not subconscious. It's not unconscious.
So for people that are just starting to wake up to these soul agreements that they might have made, are there indications that they might have that something else is going on here, or you know what I mean? It's like, all right, so
No.
you feel the pain from the pinch, right? But you just don't realize there's a pinch there.
Well, that's okay. So you're at different stages of remembering. A lot of times it starts with a disquiet inside that there's something more to life than what you've been living. That's soul speaking. I'm more than this. I don't know who I am, maybe, or what, but you get that urge or you have a discomfort or disquieting. You start to notice that something is calling from way down inside that you just have to listen to because it's time. There's timing on how everything happens. So as that occurs, as a person starts to awaken and they go into the searching mode, like what's life all about, who am I, etc., yeah, then that remembering starts to increase, because then you start actually having the clarity of the soul knowing this, skills, opportunities, podcasts maybe show up that just all of a sudden go click, and something in you goes, God, that's what I've been looking like for all my life. Oh, I knew this was right, but I just didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust my heart. I've always been told, be rational, be reasonable, you see? And so because it's being orchestrated from the soul level, then the awakening moments, the times when that starts to show up, are already set up inside you even before you incarnate. It's like a script. I call them soul scripts, much like a movie script. Okay? The actors are given their script, and that unfolds as everybody plays their part. Yeah?
But
That answer
that
it?
means everything's preordained, or people actually have free will?
Well, there's both. It depends on who you're talking from, who has free will. It looks like you have free will at the personality level, but not really, because you're not really co-creating consciously, deliberately, and right. It's not that obvious. But the free will comes the more and more you wake up into heart, soul, essence, the I am, the authentic self. The more you can live from there, then there is more conscious relationship with life, and that exchange is way more dynamic and unscripted in the way that we're playing out a character in a movie role. So it's a tough one to call, because it's not, and until you know what it's like to be generating from the unprecedented, generating from the mystery of your being, and having that emerge, having your nature, your true nature, emerge into this realm. Most people, if you notice, are pretty robotic. They work at a subconscious, habitual self images, pretty patterned reactions. That's why we call them knee jerk reactions, right? Boom. So if you really look at your life, if people are being honest, look how much you're really consciously responding to a situation, and how much are you reacting.
Well, I know for myself, boy, there are some things that just trigger me. I get very
Right.
defensive, very,
Right.
very defensive if somebody like blames me for something that I know I didn't do. Boy, that just I get so defensive, as opposed to just letting it roll off
Right.
the back of me.
So those are our wounds, and they're subconscious, because if you react and you get really angry, right? We call it a trigger. It's a common term. Well, do you have free will at that reaction? No. You just react.
Well, I wouldn't say anger. It's something else.
Or defensive, which you call it, to
Defensive.
being defensive. But do you notice that if you're triggered and reacting, you're not consciously going, oh, this is going on. I see what this is saying. Oh, I see this coming up in me. That would be
Correct.
you being awake and present from heart, soul, essence, going, oh, there's little George doing his reaction thing. Okay, what's this reaction coming from? If you know how to do the inquiry, which is what I do with the Body Transcendent work, I know how to go into the subconscious through body sensations and track that reactive response to its core. Where the heck is it that defensiveness is rising from? Because right now, you don't know.
So I could figure that out.
Well, you don't figure it out. you get clarity as to what is actually the source or sources of that. You see the pattern, you see the script. Okay, you can see that that defensiveness comes from earlier trauma in your life. Generally speaking, most of our trauma occurs when we're a child because we don't have the capacity to challenge what's coming at us. We don't have that skill. You're not capable. All you know is that you're hurting and it comes from mom or dad or from the neighbor or somebody, right? It just imprints you, it just impacts you, and you create a response. You create a belief around it, or you create a defensiveness because I don't want to get hurt again. But if you get to that aspect of yourself that is where that came from, then you're coming at it from Big George, grown up George, who can then go in and help heal that trauma. And I'll give you a very quick example because this one happened very quickly. This woman came in years ago. She came in with anxiety. And as we went into the body and started inquiring into what is the source of this anxiety, not intellectually, from the whole body, she came up with this memory. It suddenly just appeared after a few layers of this, where she remembered at 7 years old, her two brothers hung her upside down over the side of a bridge for kicks.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. They did that. And that's why she had the fear, and family was part of her, we call them the handles, the explanation. Well, as soon as she remembered that, and because we did it with the felt sense and awareness, she didn't have to be re-traumatized. It released the trauma. It just gone. And then, after we did that piece, quite spontaneously, she said, oh my God, now I know why I've been so terrified of riding over bridges all my life.
Wow.
That was the subconscious fear of the trauma. She didn't know. She never could find out why she couldn't stop that. As soon as she realized and remembered the subconscious trauma, right, that became conscious and released it, all her fear of driving over bridges, gone. That's an example.
Did she need to forgive her brothers for doing that, or
no?
It was just the memory.
Just the memory, realizing what it was, and at that level, that's all she needed to release the anxiety. Now, what she did after that, I don't know, but she was totally free of the subconscious anxiety of bridges and the anxiety she was feeling.
All right, here's another trigger for me.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what it is, but authority. People telling me what to do. Boy, I just like, nope, I'm going to do things on my own. That's it. Maybe it's because I'm a boy. You grew up, you got to run out into the woods and be on your own or whatever. I don't know. But authority just really drives me nuts. I don't know if this has served me well, but perhaps, I don't know.
Well, in the sense how it has served you, if we look at it in the context that you came in and one of your themes was to experience having your own authority disempowered or challenged or diminished or overridden, your own sacred sanctity of being, right?
Okay.
By some external person, someone external, because that's why you're reacting to some external authority, then that is indeed something you wanted to experience because you are experiencing it. So what we could do, not here necessarily, but for an example, is to show you how to track that and get to the source of what happened, when and where and with who, either in this lifetime or another lifetime, wherever it comes from. It doesn't matter. You're just playing out the pattern. That's unresolved.
Uh-huh.
You resolve it, and then you'll reclaim your own inner authority, and you won't be reactive and won't care about anyone telling you what to do because you'll be able to say, that's just their stuff. I know what I want to do. I know what my own calling is, and you won't respond that way. You won't react.
Right. The whole like COVID stuff, they're saying, oh, you got to wear a mask, you got to do this, you have to. every time. Like, or they tell me this, like in school, this is what history was. This was the truth, and I'm thinking to myself, I bet you that's not the truth. I bet you they're telling me something, you know. And
That
then
they
I
want to
would,
sell you something, right?
right, and then I would go explore like what are alternative views and stuff like that.
Right. So that's an example of you have programming, and really what's going on here in this false light matrix overlay over the natural universe, okay, is mind control. Someone is always looking to manipulate, convince you, sell you something that does not necessarily ask for your permission. You're not asked
So
to co-create or co-participate in that.
so somebody's script could be when they make their soul agreement, their script could be, oh, we're going to be the ones who are dominating people, or we're going to be the ones.
Yes. Yes. Right. Of course. Because if you're going to have a victim, which is where you hear most of the public in, you're going to have a what? A victimizer, a controller, a dominator, a trigger, a catalyst. We have to have that role. We need each other in those ways. You cannot have a victimizer without what? A victim, right? There are two sides of the same coin in a polarity-based, light-based universe, which this one is. That's what gives you the contrast and diversity here.
It's the duality. That's the whole point of being alive.
Yeah, it's a world or a universe of contrast. Now, contrast doesn't have to be traumatizing, but within the context of mind control, all right. And mind control isn't just what we're calling trauma-based mind control programming, not that level of it. It's that, but it's also people trying to convince you to think a certain way, to say this is what you have to do. It's for your best good. I know better. Not, hey, let's be co-creators here. Let's be equals, and let's see what would be the best thing for all of us, which is oftentimes called the win-win solution, rather than a win-lose solution, which is polarity, which is duality.
Well, when you were talking about duality in the beginning, the image that came to my mind, because you said, we have to conclude all this karma to move to the next level. I was thinking like a whirlpool, because the whirlpool starts with everybody so far apart, but then eventually everything just comes together.
Yeah,
Right?
eventually
is
you're
that
going to be. I've never used the whirlpool as an analogy, but the idea is that there is positioning and there's a direction of experience that brings people close, and at some point the contrast is no longer viable. Yeah, at some point there's a part of us that says, why can't we all get along here? Why can't we be equals? Why can't we be co-creators? And that's what the Homo Luminous world is. It's about being co-creators as equals. There is no hierarchy of higher gods or higher angels or higher priests or anybody higher than. That's the patriarchal, hierarchical mind control game. I know more than you. You're a lesser being for whatever reason. That's how you experience mind control, and that's how you experience the contrast of victim-victimizer.
So
right? Perpetrator-perpetrator.
I remember more than you. I'm not better than you.
Yeah, you could be at different stages of remembering, but essentially, we're all creator beings who have agreed to come together and play out these roles, these expressions, these incarnations. In this case, the three of us, in human form. There's other life forms that do the same thing, but in a different way, and play different roles, just like going to the movies, right? Going to the movies is very similar. It's a great analogy as to what a soul coming into a lifetime is.
You pay your ticket, you get to watch the show.
And you watch the show, right? And while we go to the movies,
better be believable.
Yeah, isn't that something? What is the one thing you've got to do to make the movie believable, real, and worth your money, you have to suspend your beliefs that this is just a movie. It's just light flickering on a screen. The worst thing I do when I go to a movie is something happens that takes me out of the trance state that I want to go into.
Like
to
somebody's
get
phone.
inside the movie. I hate that when that happens. It's because that's the point, to be entertained, to inform. Yeah, so there's other levels that go with this, but that's sort of one of the ways I look at it.
All right, Jim, we're getting close to the end of the time on this podcast. I'm hoping that you would be willing to come back and join us so we can continue to explore.
I'd love to. That'd be fun.
Before I forget, is there a contact, if people who are listening wanted to contact you, or is there a website or anything like that?
No, I'm not on that venue. What I can give is my email address if people are interested in looking into sessions or dialoguing more, and that's Body Transcendent, DENT, and one word, Body Transcendent @gmail.
Great.
And we encourage people to reach out to you, and I encourage people to certainly give us their comments if they're watching this on YouTube or Vimeo or listening to the audio podcast. Please send your comments and hopefully like and share this video. Anna, any closing remarks?
No, I'm really grateful right now. Thank you so much, Jim. I can't wait for the next time.
Great. Thank you. This has been fun. I hope it made some sense to you out
Absolutely.
there.
And believe me, I'll get better at this podcasting stuff as we go along, because that's one of my soul agreements, is to get better in my communication abilities.
There you go. There you go. Well, you've done a good job here. Thank you so much again.
I want to thank everybody for listening today, and join us again next week when we bring you another. And we'll be back with Michelle again. I know Michelle has lots to say, but we'll be back with Jim hopefully soon, and talk to you soon. Bye, folks.
Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye. Blessings.